Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Good evening, everybody. Hey, it's Cutler on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. It is the 4th. It's the 4th of the month, the 4th of October. Can you all believe that? We just hopped out of September right into October, and here we are. And I'm certainly glad about it. I'm enjoying the fact that the seasons are changing. How about you all? I embrace change. I don't mind the fact that the seasons are changing, and I'll talk about that in a few of the things. But some people don't like the fact that the seasons change. We go from the warm weather to the cool weather. I appreciate all of it. We're certainly wishing well and sending our thoughts and prayers to those families who are affected by the storms. Please keep them in your thoughts and your well wishes and your prayers. If you're passing by my channel for the first time, I want to tell you this. The Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast is about inspiration. It's about motivation. It is about challenging ourselves to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. It does not mean that today was a failure or a flop at all. It's about challenging ourselves to show up better today than we did yesterday. It doesn't mean that yesterday was a failure or a flop. It means we're taking the time to see, what can I do to show up, to catapult myself into the space that's called better. And I want to remind you that better does not have to happen 5 years from now. Better does not have to happen 3 weeks from now. Better happens as soon as you believe in your heart and your mind that you can be better. Better happens as soon as you believe that you can change, that things don't always have to be the same way that they are. That's when better takes place. And this station, this channel, is about challenging us. Sometimes we are inspired to become better. Sometimes we are motivated to become better. But how many of you all know that sometimes we have to be challenged and pushed to become better? It's almost like the eagle that pushes the eaglets out of the nest. Sometimes those hard opportunities, those hard spaces, those hard situations are the very things that make us better. So I want to remind us that we all can be better. Again, don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait until next year. Don't wait until 5 weeks from now, but say in your heart and your mind, I can be better. Things don't have to stay like they are. Things don't have to be the status quo, but better is possible. I have had a tremendous weekend. I'll give you all a little recap about it in just a moment and tell you about it. But I want to do a shout out to the LTTC VIPs. I also want to invite and encourage everybody as you're coming into the chat room to do a thumbs up on the conversation. And I want to remind you, if you have passed by my channel for several times, or if this is your first time, do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe. I mean, I got this big old smile, this big heart, this big grin, this big laughter, lots of love. Come on in, because I want to spend 1,800 seconds with you every Tuesday and Thursday. I want to try to motivate you. I want to try to challenge you as I motivate myself, as I inspire myself, as I challenge myself to become better. But guess what, you all? I don't want to get to the finish line called better and be there by myself. I want you all there with me. So tell somebody else. That's why the theme song says, come on, let's talk to Cutler. I want us to get to better together. All right. I want us to get to this space called better together. So again, let me shout out the LTTC VIPs for just a moment. Those are the people who tend to jump into the chat room first, second, or third, and get the conversation started. So let's see who's over in the chat this evening. I want to do a special shout out to LTTC VIPs rather. Annie Cutler says, "Get aboard, let's ride." I promise you, we're going to have a good conversation. So take her advice. Get aboard, let's ride. If you know someone who needs to join this conversation, because we are going to talk this evening, you all, about how to find purpose. That's what we're going to talk about. So if you've been having a conversation with people about, do you know your purpose? Help me find my purpose. I don't know what my purpose in life is. If you've been having that conversation with anybody recently, go and grab them, tell them, log in, tap in, tune in. This guy is going to talk about how to find purpose. All right. And then let's say a good evening to, let's see, Juanisha Harris says, good evening to everybody. Cousin, how are you? Hope all is well. So second LTTC VIP is Juanisha Harris, who says, good evening, everybody. And then coming in third, looks like there is Sonia Bailey, who says, good evening. Well, good evening to you, my friend. Listen, again, you all, if you haven't done so, do me a favor, come on the chat room, yes, but do a thumbs up on the conversation. We are going to talk about how to find purpose. I found your book in my son's room a while ago. I'm going to read some of these, but listen, you all, I had a fantastic weekend. I really, really did. My church uh, honored me in a 2-day celebration, and it was absolutely wonderful. I'll give you details as time moves along, but my church held a banquet and a service for me, and I was absolutely, my mind was blown. I was humbled. I was honored. I was amazed. But with all of that, the thing that gave me the greatest joy was realizing I was walking in purpose. That I really did have purpose to my life. And I thought about that. And I was so very thankful, because one of the lessons that my mother has always taught me is to be kind to people. And people are connected to my purpose. Community, family, and people are connected to my purpose. I told those who were in attendance that one of the things that I always learned, or that my mother has modeled for me. Sometimes she says, I don't remember teaching you this, but people can teach you things by modeling it for you. They don't necessarily have to say it, but my mother has always modeled for me that people are God's greatest gift to you. So be careful how you handle them. People are God's greatest gift to you, so be careful how you handle them. And I have to say this to you, that my purpose is connected to people. And I want to share this with you all. I'm just going to share this with you, and I'm going to get right back into the conversation. I got several very kind accolades and comments and nice gifts. One that, of course, made me smile, and I knew immediately and exactly where I would put it, was this gift. It is a tile, it's a ceramic tile plaque that has my books on it. And let me just say, I hope the glare doesn't really mess it up, but it's a ceramic tile plaque. Let's see. Yeah, I'll turn it like that. And this was a gift from one of you, and I'm not going to call names because you know who you are, and I have to say to you, and I wanted to share that with you all, and I wanted to just show it and say thank you to the one of you who made that and made sure that you got that to me, gave it to me, got it to me, and I absolutely love it. I love it. But I shared that because it reminds me that our Tuesday and Thursday conversations are not in vain, that we really are talking, we really are building community, we're really maintaining connectivity, we really are encouraging each other to keep our heads up and our hopes up, and all of those sorts of things. And so thank you. Even though those of you who just show up these Tuesdays and Thursdays, understand whenever I say to you at the end of the broadcast that from my heart to yours there is and always will be so much love. It's not a cliche. It is not a cliche. You are gifts to me, and I entreat you as such. All right. I got to keep moving, but I just wanted to share that with you. I did. I wanted to share that with you. It's so good to see some of you. I'm chuckling because I see some of you that are just sending me these messages. And Fabulous Me, I see you said you found your book in your son's room. That is funny. It's so good to see all of you. You all, but let's talk about purpose. Over the weekend, I was reminded about my purpose, and sometimes people can help you find purpose. Sometimes when you can't find purpose yourself, other people can help you find purpose. So I wanted to springboard from this amazing weekend that I had and chat with you all this weekend about how do you find purpose? Because a lot of times people say, I don't know what my purpose is. So how can I find it? But let's talk about, first of all, let's define what purpose is. What is purpose? Purpose is it's what I would consider your central motivating aim in life. Simply put, purpose is the reason why you get up in the morning. It's why you do what you do. And I told you all, purpose for me is connected to people and family and community, those sorts of things. But purpose is the thing that can guide your decisions. When you think about why you get up in the morning, why you do what you do, it is that aim. It is that motivating aim that guides the decisions that you make. I got up this morning. I'm doing what I do, and this is what guides the decisions that I make. Because I have purpose. This is what influences my behavior. This is what influences how I respond to people. This is what makes me think before I do something that is going to have a negative impact on my character. It is my purpose. Purpose guides your decisions. Purpose influences your behavior. Purpose gives you a sense of direction. It creates meaning for your life. That's what purpose is. And it can be connected to your job. Yes, you can find purpose in your vocation, in what you do in your job. Purpose, you can find it in your responsibilities to your family and to your friends and to people. So purpose is not just limited or restricted, but when you think about the reason why I got up, the reason why I do what I do, and for those reasons, that's what guides my decision. That's what influences my behavior. That's what gives me a sense of direction, and it can be connected to your job, your vocation. You can find it in your responsibility to your responsibilities to your family and your friends. It's sometimes even reflected in your spirituality or your religious beliefs. It can be a combination of all of these, but learn to ask yourself, why did I get up this morning? Why am I doing what I do? So then, when you try to put your finger on purpose, you'll find that you may need to use all 10 of them. Why am I doing what I do? Purpose is the reason why you're still alive. Destiny is where you will eventually get, but purpose is why you're alive every day. Why am I alive? Why am I doing what I do? And again, it can be connected to family. Maybe it's about developing my purpose is to help meet the needs of my family. Why am I still alive? To help meet the needs of my family. Purpose might even be connected to children. Got to be a role model for them. Got to show them how to smile. Purpose can be connected to community. I need to leave the world in a much better position than it was when I got here. I hope I'm helping somebody find and define and at least point you in the direction of what purpose looks like. That is why so many times I say, take a look at who you are and don't be insulted by the value that you bring to this thing that is called earth. Everybody has purpose. Don't ever let anybody give you an inferiority complex about who you are and what your purpose is. Sometimes people try to stifle and stop you from finding purpose because they don't know what theirs is. But my goal, my aim, my offering tonight is to empower us to open our eyes and see that we have purpose in life. And purpose, we can have more than one. And it can be so intertwined and so connected. But purpose, yes, Juanisha, purpose is the reason why I'm still alive. I hear you, Fabulous. You said, I'm not sure I have ever defined my purpose. So we're at least going to try. You're right, Tracy. It can be difficult to find new purpose because you think, have I accomplished that? Have I done that? Sometimes, may I suggest this to you, that sometimes purpose is happening and you don't realize it until you're on the other side of it, and that's okay. But I want us to be able to start taking a look back before we get there and say, you know what? This is purpose. When you realize that you're doing what you do in and on purpose, then you are really motivated. You're charged. You have a zeal to do what you do even more, even better, even greater. So then, now that we know what purpose potentially is, let's talk about now that I know what it is. Because when it comes to purpose, purpose is like, who am I? Where do I belong? When do I feel fulfilled? These are questions. These are the kinds of questions that make you stop and think. And you're right. Sometimes you have to say it out loud, and you have to remind yourself, this is who I am. This is where I belong. This is what makes me fulfilled. This is why I do what I do. And because I have that platform, I have that foundation, now I know how I am building myself. I've got this foundation. I know what's important to me. Community, family, friends, children. That's why I think the way I think. That's why I respond the way I do. That is why I discipline myself. And again, like I said, sometimes purpose happens, it's happening, and you see it and you find it and discover it after the fact. But what a powerful people we could be if we would find purpose before it happens or while it's happening and not after it has occurred. Because as Tracy has suggested earlier, when she said it can be difficult to find a new purpose, Envy, you're right. A purpose can change and it can expand. Because the way it starts today is so dynamic, it can grow. I'm sure my friend Miss Evelyn, 100 years old, has had walked through several monumental moments of purpose. Of course, in 100 years, several monumental moments of purpose. Change, expand, grow. That's done. Let me move on to something else. So let's talk about how do we find purpose? How do we discover purpose? How do we do it, Cutler? And I'll have to share this with you. I was reading some materials by Tony Robbins, and I grabbed my pen and I made some notes. So I'm going to share some of what he said with you. One of the things in terms of finding purpose, make sure that you look inside of yourself. Ask yourself, how can I be happy? Look inside yourself. And when you ask yourself that question, how can I be happy? Every time you think of something that limits your ability to be happy, you all hear me clearly, please. Every time you answer with something that limits your ability to be happy, try replacing that thought with something that empowers you. Look inside of yourself and don't be so intimidated as to find the beauty and the greatness inside of you. How can I be happy? What's inside of me to make me happy? Well, I would be happy if I could do such and such and such. Well, that's what limits you. I would be happy if I had this. I would be happy if I could do. Those are limiting thoughts. But instead of those kinds of thoughts, you all replace them with things that empower you. I'm charismatic. People like me. I'm a good listener. I don't mind listening to people. I show up for people. Those are things. I have certain skill sets with my hand. Listen to this one. And I have certain skill sets with my heart. So then when you think, how can I feel fulfilled? How can I be happy? And every time you think of something that limits your ability to be happy, replace that. Say, let me come up with something that empowers me. So that is one thing. Look inside of yourself. Sometimes you may have to stand in the mirror. And it's awkward, it feels crazy, but you stand there and think about the same thing, whether if you have children, if you don't, think about the same thing that you would tell your 5, 6, 7-year-old child. and remind them that there's something beautiful and powerful happening inside of them. You stand in the mirror and you say to yourself, there's something beautiful and powerful happening inside of me. And yes, I can be fulfilled. Yes, I can be happy. The same thing that you would say to your 5, 6, or 7-year-old child, you say that same thing to you. You come up with a thought that empowers you rather than limits you, that encourages you rather than discourages you, that catapults you rather than restricting you. Come up with those kinds of thoughts. Come up with those kinds of thoughts. And then not only do you look inward, but think about this, you all. Purpose. Purpose is more than just a short-term goal. Because if you focus only on your short-term goals, you'll just have this fleeting sense of accomplishment. I got that done. That's over. But purpose is a little more long-term than that. That is why when you think, why do I get up in the mornings? Do I get up in the morning because my purpose is to encourage children, to be a role model for them? That's not a short-term goal. Or do I get up in the morning because my goal is, my purpose is family? It is to meet their needs. It is to understand their insecurities. Because if that's purpose, if that is purpose, that's more than a short-term goal. Meeting the needs of a family happens over time. So think about it, not just short-term goals, but things that have a little bit of tenure to them. And as you're looking at purpose, it is about what's going on in life. And here's a thought that I want you all to have. Write this one down somewhere. Encourage people to remember this, that this is perspective. You all know often I talk about is how you look at it. Let's adopt the mantra that says, life is not just happening to me, but life is happening for me. I'm somebody on this earth. I'm somebody in creation. I am somebody in humanity. And life is happening for me. It will help you. It will help you lift your chin up when people are trying to get you to hang your head down. It will make you smile when people only want to see you frown. When you say life is happening for me, I am not just victimized, but life is happening for me. There are some things that are happening to me, but life is happening for me. I just thought of that while I was sharing, making sure that you put your purpose before your goals, and goals are short term, but you have to be a little more forward thinking. Because when you're setting goals, and if you want to make sure it's purposeful, you have to say, how will this help me feel more fulfilled? Some things are short term, but when you think about some of the goals that you set, you have to ask yourself, how is this going to help me feel more fulfilled? Then it helps drive you into purpose. And then I want to ask you all this, or I want to encourage you to do this when it comes to how do we find purpose? How do we discover that we are living in and on purpose? Focus on what you have. What's my purpose? How will I know, Cutler, that I'm living in purpose, that I'm walking in purpose, that I'm breathing in purpose? Focus on what you have. Stop looking at yourself as having just a little. Stop saying I only have a little. And I don't mean that in terms of wealth or money or financial resources or that sort of thing. But have this abundance mindset. I have lots of hope. I have lots of peace. I have lots of ambition. I have lots of love. And when you develop that kind of thinking, you'll start seeing the beauty in things around you. I told you all that my church had this celebration for me over the weekend. And Sunday, there was a young lady who said, I have this gift for you, and it's not a lot. Can I tell you all what I said to her? And I said, may I interrupt you before you go on? And she said, yes, sir, absolutely. I said, whenever you give a gift to someone, don't ever downplay its values. Not in your sight, not in God's sight, and don't give them the license to think of your gift as something little. So she said, thank you. It's not much. And I said, I want to go back to the lesson for just a moment. Don't ever downplay the value of anything that you have to give, because it may not have a lot of financial cost to it, but financial cost is not always value. We've talked about this before. When you give and do things that come from your heart, a price cannot be put on that. And I wanted her to know that her gift is not something that is considered insignificant to me, because I realize that when people do and give things from their heart, you can't put a price on that. You just cannot put a price on it. And so I wish you all would do the same thing. That the next time somebody offers you something or gives you something and they say, oh, it's just a little something, correct them. Help them to see that price does not equate always to value. So when I say learn to focus on what you have, learn to focus on the beauty inside of you, the goodness all around you. And you will stop questioning your purpose, because you'll feel like I have more of the answers, I have more peace, and I have more insight to where I'm going. So I want you all to think about that. You're right. You're right. We are conditioned to say that. It's not a lot. It's not a whole lot. Right? But I want you all to focus on what you have. See yourself as having a lot of something. All right? See yourself as having a lot of something. A lot of love, a lot of loving people, a lot of peace. All right? And Linda, you are getting lots of love. You do have lots of love. You know, I'm going to check on you. All right? So true. It was from the heart, priceless. I realized that after my mom passed, and she kept values she valued every card I made her. Absolutely. Things like greeting cards or handwritten cards. There was a 91-year-old lady at the celebration over the weekend, and she turned 91. Let's see. In August, she turned 91 in August, and she told everybody. I think they were doing, if I recall, yes, it was a drive-by. They were doing drive-by celebrations, because she still is very, concerned and cautious about her health and all of that. So she told the people, "Don't buy me a card, but make me a card." This 91-year-old woman, she told the people, "Don't make me a card for my birthday. Don't buy me a card. Make me a card. Get a blank card. If you buy one, buy a blank card and write something in it." Because to her, those thoughts, those communications, they were priceless. And she said, "I am so loved." And I said, "Mother, how did you know that you are so loved?" She said, "Because I'm not looking for all these gifts." She said, "Open the card and read them." And she said so many of those cards came from children that I helped raise. So many of those cards came from people that I worked with over the years. So many of those cards came from people who I encouraged when their loved ones died. You all know I'm just a waterhead. So at that point, I was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You have a whole lot. So we have to learn to see that, you all. All right, we have to learn to see that. And then another tip to help find purpose: take ownership of your life. I could spend the rest of, and oh my goodness, I have talked for 1800 seconds, but let me stop here, and maybe I'll pick up the next time we chat, y'all, about continuing how do we find purpose. Can I say to you all this? Take ownership of your life. I'm going to try to end this one on a high note so we can get out of here. Because true fulfillment comes from designing your own life. And this is how you open the extraordinary that's inside of you. You get to decide what's right, and you'll know it in your heart, you'll know it in your soul. And you can't let yourself be driven by fear or by anxiety. Don't do that. Don't be driven by fear. Don't be driven by anxiety. Because when you start, I told you that purpose will drive the decisions that you make. It will have an impact on how you behave. And whenever you make a decision that's based on fear, it might be the wrong decision. So learn how to take ownership of your life. And to the extent that you can, this was a hard lesson for me, but I want to share this with you all because it is so true. For me, I had to stop playing the victim. And I had to take ownership of my life. Bad things happen to good people. I get that. Yes, bad things do happen to good people. And then there are things that we have no control over. Think about children don't have control over a whole lot of things. But as an adult, what I realized was that in many cases, some of the bad things that happened in my life were somehow related to a decision that I had made. And I had to ask myself, was that decision made out of insecurity, uncertain, fear, or anxiety? Sometimes for me, the answer was yes. And I had to take ownership and say some of the bad things that happened to me were connected to some of the decisions that I made. It's crazy. And I'm going to say this to you all. Many of you know that some years ago, I sustained an injury. Crazy. Broke my foot a year later, ended up having to have reconstructive ankle surgery. All of that. Yes, absolutely. All of that. And I know people felt sorry for me, but you all, you know what? I had to own up to this part of it. I climbed up a ladder in my house by myself. It wasn't the smartest decision in the world. It was not the smartest decision in the world. And I had to take responsibility for that. A bad thing happened, but it was connected to a decision that I made. Placed the ladder next to a set of steps. Climbed up on it, nobody in the house but me. And the ensuing days and weeks and months and years and the residual pain and all of that stuff that I still sometimes deal with. And I want to sometimes go, woe is me. Woe is me is true. It's horrible that it happened. But that is the primary example for me that says, take ownership of your life and realize that some of the bad things that happened were connected to decisions that you made were not the best decisions, Cutler. My offering for us this evening. A second one. I'm empowering us to be able, to some degree, in some respects, stop playing victim. And when you stop playing victim, you say, you know what? I'm taking ownership of everything in my life. Now, some of the things that you didn't do, that you didn't cause, Some of the things that you did not do did not cause. Hear me clearly. I'm not saying take responsibility of the bad things that other people did to you. Absolutely not. I'm not saying when you were innocent and you had the inability to even make a decision. I'm not saying take responsibility for that. I want to be very clear. But I'm saying as an adult, there's some things that we do. Absolutely, Paula. So decisions equal accountability. All right? We're going to keep talking about this because I want us to find purpose. I want you all to think about this. I know this is one of those conversations. This is one of those topics. This is one of those subjects that we sometimes say, oh, okay, all right. I'll talk about it. And I'll talk about it in a very flighty way and I keep on going. But no, let's stop. Let's say we are going to define purpose. Thank you all so much. We're going to keep on with this conversation. We're going to continue with this conversation next time we get together. But no, until then, I want you all to keep building community, keep maintaining connectivity. You all stay safe, stay sane, keep your heads up, keep your hopes up. And yes, ma'am, yes, sir, know from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Good night. If you haven't done so, don't forget to do a thumbs up on this conversation. I'll see you all next time.